Hi, this is Nathan James Norman from nathanjamesnorman.com and untoldpodcast.com reviewing Jason Brannon's The Tears of Nero. That's why I have Nero here from the Star Trek movie. Looking at Jason Brannon's story, the summary of it is pretty simple, but pretty complex at the same time. When a madman calling himself Nero abducts 5 strangers to a mysterious island, events are set in motion that may very well trigger the catastrophic events set forth in the Book of Revelation. These 5 strangers quickly discover that Nero intends to torment these 5 people in his sadistic games as he asks the question, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? And that's the age-old question of evil, the problem of pain. And we explore that a little bit. We get a lot of the questioning of that question up front in the story and some payoff at the end. But to review this, Jason Brannon opens The Tears of Nero with explosive intrigue and action. The reader, like the protagonists, are thrown right into the conflict without reason or explanation. This is a gutsy move on Brannon's part. On the one hand, it grabs the reader's attention. On the other hand, though, it results in very little upfront characterization. And that's one of my things, is I like character-driven stories, and so we have a lot of action and plot, but not so much characters up front. But I found out as I was reading it, something interesting happens as the 5 strangers traverse the dangers and traps of the island. As they get to know each other, we begin to bond with them. It took me some time to care about most of the characters, but before I knew it, I really did care for them. The Tears of Nero is an amalgam of genres. It's an adventure story, it's a spy story, it's a supernatural terror, it's an esoteric religious thriller. Really cool stuff. They all accurately describe this story, and they all work well together. This book took me a long time to read, though, and it's not because it's terribly long. I mean, you can see it's pretty beefy, but it's not super long. Normally I'll power through a book in a week, if that, but it's just life events forced me to keep putting the book down. I had zero time for personal enjoyment and entertainment for a few months, and so it forced me to just read it kind of chapter by chapter, moment by moment, piece by piece, and it resulted in something really neat. I found that the tension of the story really worked, and over months as I was reading the tension paid off at the end in the story. I only have a few mild criticisms of the story, and of the book itself. The Nero character's timeline, for example, his life events, they didn't always seem to add up for me. It seemed like it was too short of a time period for so much to happen, but that might have just been me. The main crux of the book, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? It had a reasonable answer by the end of the book. By no means was it poor and not answered. It had a reasonable answer. But as a theologian, I was looking for a more robust answer, and that's probably not fair because this is a narrative story and not an informational story and a philosophical book dealing with the problem of pain and the problem of evil. And so he gives an adequate answer, and I was just... I'm probably expecting too much out of a narrative. But by no means was it preachy or a message book. They deal with the issues well, and the narrative trumps the philosophy behind the book. Beyond those hiccups, I enjoyed the world Jason Brannon has created, and while this is a standalone novel, Brannon sews into the narrative a few subplots that will work their way into a follow-up novel. When you open up the front cover, you see it says Book 1 of the Halo Group series, and but it's really good. And so I encourage fans of spy books, cult plot books, supernatural warfare, religious-themed thrillers, they should go check out this book, The Tears of Nero. It's great. If you want to check out some of Jason Brannon's writing style elsewhere, you can listen to a short story he wrote, The Fourth Key, featured on episode 12 of the Untold podcast. You can go check that out somewhere. But my rating for this is 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it, and you should go check it out if any of that sounds good to you.
ChristianGeekCentral.com